Today is July 23rd. We're bantering with Boone. Let's talk Yanks. 1 week till the trade deadline, people. Think about that. Subway Series?
Talkin' Yanks with old John Boy, Jake. Recaps galore, weekly awards, stat lines, theme, and hot takes. Get your Yankees news from these two fine dudes. It's time for Talkin' Yanks. Talkin' Yanks with old John Boy, and Jake. Talkin' Yanks with old John Boy, and Jake.
Hello and welcome to Talkin' Yanks, presented to you by SeatGeek, code Yanks10. My name is Jake. Jimmy, a little vacay. And reminder, if you see him, let him be. He's on vacation. Pants him. Keep it moving. We are talking Yanks today with Aaron Boone. I'll say semi-lighthearted. We're a week out from the deadline. I wish there was more deadline things we could ask that would get real answers, but that's kind of not how it works. We got a fun lineup tidbit for today. So go check that out in a second. A little housekeeping before then. It's Tuesday. That means we have our DraftKings Daily Fantasy League. Go check that out. It's a ton of fun. All of our Jam creators are in it. And top finisher each month will get $100 in SeatGeek credit from John Boy Media. And the top two leaderboard finisher at the end of the regular season win 2 World Series tickets. So go check it out. Sign up for the league. It's a ton of fun. I'm in there every week. BBD is as well. So join that. And we mentioned it during our live with Boone, or we mentioned it with Boone, but we're doing a live event with Boone August 5th at T Squared. In the heart of Midtown Manhattan. Really cool venue. Gonna be fun. It's a little less than a week after the deadline. So hopefully we're gonna have a lot of new questions inbound. And that'll be fun with Booney. I forgot, we did a live in-person event with Boone this offseason. It was awesome.
Yeah, January. That
was electric. So come through. Someone did make me laugh out loud with a reply in the comments. It's the gif of that reporter that threw his shoes at George W. Bush. I ask you to not do that, but come through, have a good time. There's going to be some pictures and stuff. We got different packages. So before we get to Boone, it is Subway Series night, and I'll give you guys my little Subway Series speech. If you get a chance, go. I'm a little bummed out. I was eyeing going to tonight's game, but just too busy, too much stuff going on. Subway Series always has a little more juice to it. It's New York. It's baseball. Summer. It's a beautiful thing. A lot of people using singular fingers on their hands to talk to other people. I don't know. It's the fun. From my experience, it's the fun embodiment of the sports. I'm sure some people might have where things might have gotten serious. If that's ever happened, and get out of there. But it's a lot of fun, and it'll be interesting to see. The Yankees lost the first 2 to the Mets. They only play 4 games. It is Heel and Cole lined up. So, I don't know. I know we don't feel like we're out of the losing times yet. Couple wins against the Mets would really help with an off day before Boston. So, hopefully, the guy who's been the ace for the Yankees this year, and Garrett Cole, can get it rolling. And we'll be doing our recap up on Wednesday night, so late night Wednesday, and we'll either, per Yankee fans, we'll be feeling really good or be feeling really scared. So let's get into Boone. We also have Sharp Stats coming up with the Queen of Stats, KT Sharp, and it's all brought to you by Momentous. That's right, you hear it in my voice. The best products in the game. They're in Major League Baseball clubhouses. Professional athletes are using this. And I heard a good reminder. I think I was watching SportsCenter last night, and they were like, you know why they can do this? Because they're professional athletes. A little different than you and me. And Momentous. They've got omega-3, protein, creatine, the bases to have you covered. 3 supplement supports nearly every aspect of foundational health, has from aiding cognitive function to reducing inflammation in muscle and joints. And yeah, I mean, I hate to be this guy, but if the athletes are using this, this is probably something you can use in your daily life, workout-wise or not. So go check out Momentous and see the reason why world's best athletes and experts use and help develop with Momentous products. If you're like me and you want to take what the champs take, go to livemomentous.com. Use code Yanks to get 20% off your first order. That's livemomentous.com with code Yanks. There's a link in the description. Boone. Today's Bantering with Boone is brought to you by Beatbox. Boone, how we doing?
Doing all right. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. As I told you, Jom's doing the family vacay. That's how the other half lives. No, if there's if there's a person that deserves it, it's that guy. How we doing? We got Subway Series a week from the deadline. It's happening.
Yeah, obviously, I think an exciting time for our sport. With the draft, with the All-Star game, now all the build-up that will be going into the trade deadline. Kind of that crazy cool time, but and obviously starting the Subway Series tonight for us.
Yeah, it drives me nuts, but every year I'm like, wait, baseball owns these 2 weeks that we need like a cool name. I don't know. It's like baseball purgatory for some teams. Like, are we buying or selling? I don't know. I keep trying to look for the cool term. I think we even did this last year. I think
baseball loser.
Baseball. Hey, that's the leader in the clubhouse at this point.
Might be the best we've come up with.
Baseball-a-loser. We'll work on that. You guys had a little bit of a baseball-a-loser in the dugout yesterday after the DJ homer. Let's start out on the high. DJ, obviously, I mean, one of the most respected dudes probably in the game at this point, just for how he handles his business. He's been going through it bad. We saw the dugout give a little more than they normally give. Walk me through that a little bit.
Well, once they get past me, I don't really see much. Although I will say that the little home run thing they do where the guys hop through has been pretty raucous all year. I definitely peaked a little longer at DJ going through there. To see the easiness on DJ's face, man, I'm sure really obviously nice for him to have that moment. And everyone, certainly appreciates the grind that different guys have to go through and different points of the season that guys are in. So I think everyone was really excited for that.
So following that up, and this has been a move that we've liked previous this year, so I'm interested on the hitter coach side of it. DJ comes up later, first and second, and he throws up the bunt, which we were in the office. Weird little Monday day game. What's that about?
Yeah.
All right. But, a lot of Yankee fans in the office that he shows bunt the first time, and we're all like, okay, like I get it. Let's get some insurance runs, whatever. We were a little surprised when he throws it down the second time. So was that from the coaches? Was that DJ operating on his own or what?
We'll never know.
You always, I don't know if that's such like a big secret. I feel like I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
We'll never know.
We will never know.
But I kind of like it. Obviously Kelly, a right-hander, side armor, sinker baller there, guy that puts ball in. So, it was good to punch through and score a bunch of runs yesterday in the end.
That was nice. I guess the other, I think they call it, I had a boss that called it eating the frog. It's getting the mess stuff out of the way so you could go on to the more fun stuff. DJ has been having a tough time. Doogie, it's crazy because I'll get ahead of this one. Verdugo has been the perfect fit. We needed a lefty contact defensive left fielder, which is ironic because there was Yankee fans that didn't love Brett Gardner for years, and it's like that's it. That's the beauty of it. Doogie's been in it in a bad way, and there's a couple lefties coming up versus the Mets and an off day. Have you considered doing especially as I get older, the extra off day / kind of timeout time, like we saw that with Rizzo earlier this year. Is that something you considered this upcoming series / off day with the Mets?
No, I actually feel like he's getting really close. I thought had some good swings yesterday. He's had a couple walks in the last 2 days, although one he got rung up on the day before. But I feel like he's starting to find the barrel. I like the hit the other way, which is kind of his bread and butter yesterday. So I feel like he's getting close, and I still maintain a lot of confidence that he's going to go on a heater at some point in this second half, just because of the quality hitter he is, where he is, prime wise, career, all those things, what he's been like. I feel like he's getting there, and I do feel like the last couple of days he's getting a little closer to that point. Obviously a couple tough lefties coming up. I do have him in there tonight. We'll see about tomorrow if I want to do that into a day, but we'll feel like he's getting there and we need him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's some of the DJ stats, which I know him and DJ, we did that last time, and it's where baseball's a sick sport, because you would say those are like the two best contact bats on the Yanks coming into the season, and they've been in the hole a little bit. Not really a question there. I've got one more frog that I'm sorry, but hey, again, we're getting it out of the way because there's some good happening. Garrett Cole, a lot of good stuff. Gleyber, and me and Jimmy Head Tilted. I don't know if we've ever told you this. When we did I think it was our first spring training interview with you. We were dancing around some Volpe. We were doing some other stuff. This is a year and a half ago. And you sent something back our way, and we were like, okay, so, part of Boone wanting to do this is kind of clearing the air with us a little bit and straightening us out. And we're like, okay, we kind of got to be on our game. Gleyber Torres, we've seen him now the whole life cycle of talking Yanks. Like, we've seen him become like a dad, like an adult. Like, it's pretty wild. The leg kick in the swing right now, for me, and again, I'm willing to be corrected, it feels like it's happening earlier, and it's a little more, like, it feels like he's balancing on one leg where it used to feel more fluid. Am I over analyzing everything, or is it just easy to play results?
He's always through a lot of his successful times and down, tinkered with that. We see him when he's been really good sometimes where he gets in that 2-strike mode and kind of sets his foot down. We've seen the big leg kick where he gets behind the ball really well. I just feel like all of that has been, a tick off for a lot of the year by his standards. And that's been a hard thing for him to kind of find and get going in a consistent way. And then I think, you add in the element where I think he's definitely feeling that a little bit and pressed at times. I do feel like over the last couple of weeks, there's been, he started to get some hits, and I feel like he's seeing pitches, and then boom, he gets in a big situation, and I feel like that, wanting to do something, anxiety ramps up a little bit. And I do feel like he's grinding, pressing, and you kind of see that a little bit. So that's the continued challenge, is just to get to that good point, because he's such a good hitter, but getting to that point, having stacking some successful at bats together, and then boom, then you can take off, you get your mind out of the way and you go. But that's been a challenge.
Yeah, I feel like he had that bases loaded at bat, 1 out, and he just got beat a little too much on it, where it's like, man, if he gets that fly ball a little more and he gets the sac fly, he comes back to the dugout. It's one of those like, hey, like Gleyber, all right, let's have a great rest of the day. And then that happens, and it's natural human reaction to want to not hang your head, but hang your head a little bit.
Yeah. And that's, we got to avoid that. You got to fight through it. I mean, it's a hard ass game.
Sure is. Well, let's start driving the bus uphill a little bit. Anthony Volpe, he has a nice series. When we do our series recaps, we have series stats out in front of us, and he had one of his best series in a long time, one of the best series on the team. Is there anything different, or is it, keeping at it and they'll start to drop eventually?
Yeah, look, I think it's part of his, the adjustment process that we've talked about a lot. Obviously, the adjustments he made in his swing in the winter. That again, I absolutely feel like will serve him well. Like the end product of all that's going to serve him and us well. Obviously got off to such a solid start for us the first 60 games or so, and then went through the struggles in those 30, and definitely feel like he's. The last 5-6 days, you feel him starting to build some at bats and have some quality at bats, have some long at bats, getting better, more consistent swings off. Just being a little bit better mechanically with the things he's worked on and the adjustments he's made. So hopefully it's all trending towards him getting it rolling again. I'm confident he can do that. But I've certainly liked what I've seen really over the last week with him. Even going back to before the All-Star break. I felt like it was slowly starting to get a little bit better.
And I guess the other one, it was a nice Yankee moment yesterday, Wells and Volpe, and you start doing that face you just made. You're like, okay, so wait, 2 first-round picks, 2 big positions, middle of the lineup right now. You mentioned long at bats. Austin Wells, is the biggest thing for him, confidence? I feel like there's a young player. Sometimes there's a young player belonging thing where you've probably seen it a lot more than me, where a young player goes from trying to figure all it out and drink from the fire hose, that he's looking pretty comfortable out there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, Austin's always been a guy that has kind of a really good presence to him, and not overwhelmed by being in the big league room for the first time. And, he's had that. But that said, there's also something to be a catcher, such a different position. And it's such different, more responsibilities that, it can take a minute to kind of get settled. And, especially when you bring in the offensive piece to it, and the offensive game being such a calling card of his throughout his, getting drafted as an offensive kind of catcher. That's been his profile coming up through the minor leagues. The good thing we're seeing is I just feel like he's doing such a good job behind the plate. But the more consistent at bats and starting to look like the hitter I think a lot of people project him to be, has been really exciting. And with Trevi going down, obviously it's starting to turn into every day, and I just feel like he's got a nice presence, although I'm finally giving him a day today.
Okay.
Against the lefty, and then I'll have him catch Garrett tomorrow and against another lefty. But it's also like, man, you got this lefty bullet now off the bench too, like in a big spot. So I've been excited how he's handled the workload and the defensive side of it. But his at bat presence when we've needed it it's been really encouraging, and I think gives you something to be hopefully excited about the rest of the way too.
Yeah, we were gonna ask you about that. Also, with the 2 lefties and Narvaez up on the club, we were gonna see how you're gonna manage that. So Wells sits today, and Narvaez gets the start.
Yeah, I'm having Narvi's caught Luis a lot. I just feel like with the back-to-back lefties and wanting to give Austin eventually a day here, especially kind of going through the series, played him the day game after the night game, the day game. So felt like a day into tonight would be hopefully something that serves him well in the long term. But then also just the way he's swinging the bat, having that lefty bullet off the bench, kind of nice too.
And now, were you saying that you, Matt Blake, and Ausmus were going to start going do-rag on Stroman Day as well as kind of a solidarity thing?
No, I haven't committed to that yet.
Okay. I mean, maybe play at that. I don't know. Matt Blake, Holy Cross guy. I don't know.
There was. I saw something with Blake. He's actually got it on his desk. I don't know. I'm sure it was online somewhere, like a meme or something that threw one on Blake, and they had Blake, Stroman, and Austin with the do-rags. It was pretty funny.
I mean, I'm just saying we're all about team and solidarity. I mean, I don't know. All the Yankees come out on Stroman Day. That would be must watch. I don't know. Just something maybe back pocket.
All right.
If we come into another streak.
Yeah.
Let's do. Where do we want to go? We got some good stuff. We've done this a little bit. Would Wells DH? Like, we were wondering if Wells might DH today because, with the two lefties, and he's got some splits that are really crazy lately, and like the pitches he's seeing, the walk percent, it's all in very impressive area.
Yeah. I wouldn't rule that out.
Okay.
I wouldn't rule that out, especially depending on how Narvi gets settled in a little bit. It's possible you could see that, although, I've just liked using it with Aaron lately and with Soto, and then,
sure.
Hopefully Giancarlo coming back soon. It's probably not going to be too available, but I wouldn't rule it out.
I'll do my beat reporter segment, because it feels like we're close on a couple things, but we don't really know. What's the Stanton update at?
He's probably he's doing really well. Yesterday was a light day for him off of a heavy day, so he'll have a pretty big ramp up today again of, I'm sure, hitting some velo and running on the bases and, moving around the outfield. So I would say we're hopefully within a week.
Okay.
But I want him to stack these days with the volume and feel like he's recovering properly and he's all the way where he needs to be. And I think G's on that same page. So we'll see. Hopefully within a week, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously health doesn't work like this, but he's done pretty well at Fenway in recent memory. That I don't know. Just a couple swings.
Yeah, you never know, but I just want to see how the next several days goes.
And I mean, he could just jog around the bases. It seemed like it was good coaching by you to have Soto take his time, make sure he was watching his hammies on that first lap around the bases. That's just good baseball, good coaching.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it was a pretty impressive show by Juan yesterday.
Sure was.
Before his homer that almost went in the upper deck, he was on the step with me, and he kind of had the bloop double the last time. He kind of jam shot left field line, and I said to him, "Hey, let's do something this AB. I'm not counting that last one."
Nice.
And he fouls up. He takes a swing at the first pitch in that next AB, and he kind of looks over at me, like gives me the nod, like I got this, and then hits the next one up there. I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah, man. Is that? I mean, obviously there's insane confidence that people probably don't understand, and he sometimes shows the pitchers how good he's feeling about what they're throwing at him. But I don't know. He's got that lock in, like even the Soto shuffle that obviously fans are obsessed about. But like it feels like sometimes that it's not there, and then like a gear clicks or he sees a pitch and then it happens. And is he in control of that? Is it like an Incredible Hulk situation?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is. Him and Aaron actually are, and guys that I've, obviously had the great pleasure of getting to manage. Like Judge will every now and then he'll kind of give me a look like, I got this right now.
Okay.
And when he gives me that, usually he does. And Juan's got a little bit of that too. Like when he gets that nod going, like, okay, I've processed everything you've got, and this is lining up for me.
You see it if Soto's facing a 2-pitch reliever and he sees the first 2 pitches and it's 2-0 or 1-1. That's when the nod comes out. It's like, okay, that's what you got. I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, Funny you mentioned Judge right there. We got an audible reaction. Your guy Joe's McFly just popped around the corner, and we both let out like almost a basketball bench reaction. Judge follows the Soto homer, and he lets out maybe the biggest swing I've seen Aaron Judge take. He drops to a knee.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about? Was that trying to kind of check Ray's Soto a little bit?
I think he probably just one lit up and lit his eyes up a little bit, and I think just lost the footing a little bit. So, you know.
That was a big one. We don't see the big – he's normally as under control as an MLB player I think we've ever seen. That was he let that eat.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He did.
Let's see. I think we got a couple other ones to check out. We haven't seen Clay pitch since Sunday. I think there was some thoughts that maybe he was just going to get into maybe be regular. Everything's good there. He's just hasn't been the situation.
It's good. Almost got him in Sunday. Considered yesterday, but felt like he got up twice in the All-Star game. So he more than any of our other pitchers was still somewhat active on the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So didn't feel quite the need. And now though with the off day coming. Probably an expanded role for him potentially these next 2 days.
Okay. I like that. All right. I think the only, the Cole and Rodon stuff is exciting, but I don't know how much time there is to really dive on that. I guess Ben Rice, we've seen him go through his first kind of lumps at the big league level. I think it's 4 for 44 and 21 Ks. Is that the league adjusting? Is he not adjusting? Is it bad luck?
I think that's a little bit. But I also feel like, that sounds like a real struggle. To me, my eyes don't tell me he's struggling like that. He's having long at bats. I feel like he's in the fight pretty much every at bat. Obviously not as hot as when he really got going, was hit extra base hits and things like that, but I don't feel like he's been that far off either. Give him today with the lefties coming, maybe a good reset for him. But even though, that's obviously a real 10-day, slump from a number standpoint, I feel like the at-bat quality is still where it needs to be. And, hopefully, you make your little adjustments, get locked back in.
Got jobbed on that slider down call, too.
Yeah.
That?
Yeah, really good at bat there, too. That's an example of, I thought he put together a great at bat in that situation, laid off some really tough ones, still seemed very, same demeanor, calm, not overwhelmed, a little funked.
So no Rice, no Wells tonight. Are Jemai J.D. Davis season?
Yep.
Okay. Who's leading off, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, buckle up.
Boone, come on. We're guys here.
We'll see soon enough.
You didn't do one of the big boys, I don't think. Okay, I'm buckled up, man. But I thought we were good at this point. Buckle up. Okay. I can't even think right now. Let's we always know this is a weird one to dance around, but we've also dreamed up the trade deadline rooms. And we let you go through June pretty good of we're not really doing those. We got a day-to-day going on. We're a week out, Boone. Give me some. Have we met in the same conference room?
Well, look, this is the front office thing. They're doing their thing, right. And they're obviously, they met with us as coaches and staff, probably a week or two ago, just to get what we're feeling, our thoughts from down in the trenches, if you will. And then I have my touch touch points with Cash and different front office people. So, there's iterations and thoughts and talks and things like that, but that's all it is now. There's so many teams that are 1 foot in, 1 foot out right now, and that will, become more and more clear each passing day. And, so you never really know where you're going to match up. And, you certainly identify and have your needs and hopes and wishes and things like that. But, in the end, it takes a couple to tango, right? And you got to be able to hook up. So, that there's been times where then you go add to a strength because that adds up and you can work things around that way. So it's still very unclear if, what we'll be able to do, but those things become more and more clear as you get to the very end when teams have to say, I'm in, I'm out. This is actually available. This is not.
Baseball Palooza season.
Yeah.
That's what we're all trying to figure out, man.
There you go.
Hey, one last beat writer question before we do the trivia. Dude, I think I've done this a couple weeks now. Effross, like I know he significant injury, didn't have spring training. I get that part of it. I guess for me it's a little confusing now that he's put in some decent work down there, and he's a guy that I know you guys the Yankees traded for as a valuable asset. Like what's going on there?
Yeah, I agree. He's starting to stack some good ones together. I watched his last outing. We're starting to see the uptick now in the velocity back to where it was, and starting where that's consistent, and he's holding it, and so that's encouraging. And so he's definitely on the radar now.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was looking for because I think you alluded to that a little bit, but I guess, the innings were getting to a point that I figured you guys had to see something that didn't look like the Scott Effross you guys had traded for. Otherwise, I would have assumed he'd be in the pen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Boone Trivia is presented by Beatbox. Beatbox is the perfect pairing for a Yanks game. Do yourself a favor. Hit the link in the description. Find a Beatbox near you. This is a little Yankees-Mets trivia, and this is during the Boone era. 3 Yankees have hit triples against the Mets since you've took over. I know there's a little funk to it. I'll leave that for you. 3 Yankees triples against the Mets, and then I have a line of hints if you need them.
You have a what?
I have a series of hints if you need them.
All right. Brett Gardner.
Brett Gardner, he hit 2, so he counts as one of the 3 people, but he hit 2.
All right. I have no idea.
I know that's tough.
Didi Gregorius.
Yes, Didi Gregorius. See? I mean, Boone,
Is the other guy an infielder or outfielder or a pitcher?
Infielder. That's people forget pitchers used to do that.
All right. Gleyber Torres.
Close. Another current infielder. This is the reason the trivia question was presented.
David John.
David John. Didn't go long gone, but he went triple gone. So, yeah, there was a nice little crew there. Gardy, Didi, and DJ. The triple, man. I don't know. I want to see more doubles and triples back in baseball, but the outfields play so deep now.
I know.
Tough.
Yep.
We'll work on that. Hey, Boone, when we see you, so we're going to see you next Tuesday?
Deadline morning, currently scheduled.
Deadline morning? We're going to be anxious.
That deadline morning?
We might have to, maybe we'll talk off the record. And we have our live event coming up, Boone, August 5th.
Oh, can't wait.
Can't wait. Mark's got him. All right, hey, we'll let's coordinate about the deadline because that gets a little funky. But otherwise, just go win the next 6 or whatever.
All right, brother. Thank you.
See you, Skip. That Bantering with Boone was brought to you by Roan. If you're struggling to find what you like to wear, whether it's a comfort reason, whether it's too tight, too small, too big, difficulty putting together the outfit, Roan, you have to go check them out because they have dress shirts, Q-zips, polos, blazers, pants, everything. I found their shirts. I've got a couple Power Roan shirts that have been a mix in the wardrobe and 2 pairs of golfing shorts. So depending your office, maybe that can be that. Maybe it can be happy hour. Maybe it could be on the links. They're the perfect length for me. I've got an interesting body, or at least that's what you guys talk about in the comments. And their shorts are the ones that really work for me. So you need to go check out. Head to Roan, RHONE.com/Yanks. Promo code Yanks. Save 20% off your entire order. 20% off your entire order when you head to Roan.com/Yanks. Code Yanks. Link in the description. Did we learn anything from Boone there? Fun, unique lineup tonight. Probably a lineup we're going to look back at in a few weeks, years, and say, what the hell was that?
Yeah, Boone told us who the guy is that he wouldn't tell you guys.
What's that about? I think you guys will be able to put it together.
Said enough hints.
But yeah,
it would be this guy's first game in that spot.
Ooh, that's a fair hint. Yeah, and we're still trying to not have a feast or famine lineup. Like, that's been the situation going back a little bit now, and I think that obviously has to do with Judge and Soto kind of stay the same. So if they get contributions around them, we're seeing these big outputs. And then I guess some second-rate bullpen where we've been on the receiving end of a lot of blowouts too, that I think that's just been the balance. That Yankees really need to win just a couple. Be nice to win a couple 4-1 games and be like, that was nice. 5-3, and the Yanks played well. We haven't had a ton of those lately. I was, on a personal level, I was excited to hear the update on Effross because, again, that's a piece that the Yankees went out and got. So I realized no spring training, no proper build up after a big injury. So it's good to hear his stuff is ticking up and that's what they're monitoring. And then, yeah, I don't know. Boone, this is our fake insider trading. Boone had that look in his eye like it's a big week. We know we have a good team. We know it needs help. This isn't anything he said. I'm interpreting his eyes. But also a little bit of pep in his step. We need to reinforce this a little bit. We can reinforce this a little bit. That it's an exciting week in Yankee land. So yeah, we'll let you know with our next bantering with Boone, doing it the morning of the deadline.
Feels like we should probably have it be Wednesday.
Yeah, it feels like we're just gonna
double check when the recap is.
Just gonna be like drooling dogs staring at each other, like, huh? You think? So we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, decent spirits. I know we said it last episode, and I know you guys want us to be hard hitting sometimes, but after yesterday's win, and what do you want us to say? You want us to be like, man, I drove home a couple times that DJ and Verdugo have been the two worst hitters in baseball. But I don't know. Boone knows those same stats. It's probably a reason you're going to see a very unique lineup tonight. So,
yeah. I guess the only other thing that really piqued me, just because we've been kind of on this conversation, but revisiting the Wells DH possibilities.
Yeah.
That answer changed from 2-3 weeks ago when
Right.
we last asked him.
A little.
He said he kind of wasn't considering it anytime soon. Said he can't rule it out, but he was a lot more open to a day like that,
and
especially before Stanton comes back. Whenever that
right,
is.
that could be gone if. And he said Stan within the week, which I don't think we've gotten that answer yet. So
if they decide Stanton's just back versus Boston, then I don't know when that day is.
it's always a little touch and go there. Philly after Boston. We will see. Let's do some sharp stats.
Hey guys, it's the Queen of Stats, and this week we're going to talk about Anthony Volpe. Yeah, he's been hitting okay the past few games since the break, but he's clearly not having a good season at the plate overall. With a 685 OPS that is only slightly better than last year's disappointing 666 OPS, and still roughly about 10% worse than league average. Yes, his batting average is higher than last year, and he's striking out less, but his slugging and his walk weights are way down. And as it's been widely reported and obvious to anyone who's watched him, he's traded power for contact and he's hitting more ground balls and fewer fly balls, which basically just makes him a below average league hitter, a below league average hitter overall anyways. But instead of focusing on these obvious plate discipline and batted ball metrics, I wanted to take a look at a few specific splits where he significantly declined this year to highlight some other reasons for his poor stats this season. Now, all of these are entering Monday's game. Keep that in mind. First, his platoon splits. Last year, he was actually a productive hitter against lefty pitchers, with an 817 OPS that was about 20% better than league average, but he really struggled versus righties. Well, this year, he's been equally bad against lefties and righties. He's got a 681 OPS against righties and a 660 OPS against lefties, both of which are worse than league average. Next, I wanted to look at some splits by count. So batters typically hit worse when behind in a count and do most of their damage when ahead in a count. Makes sense? For Volpe this year, he's really not taking advantage of being ahead in a count. His 794 OPS when ahead in a count sounds good, but it's actually 33% worse than league average. Now on the flip side, he has a 556 OPS when behind in a count, which, is about 15% better than league average, but it's still a 556 OPS, which is terrible overall and accounts for nearly half of his plate appearances. Now, finally, there is one split that I think is most concerning from a player development perspective. This season, when facing a starting pitcher for the third time, he has a 474 OPS, which is a whopping 79% worse than league average. In fact, among the 64 players that have at least 60 plate appearances against starters a third time through the order, he ranks 64th. Yeah, the worst. So to me, that just shows a lack of adjustment on his part during the game, and yet another reason for his poor performance at the plate this season.
Katie Sharp, the queen of stats. We can't thank her enough. The only other person we can thank is Dan Patrick, who our Dan Patrick partnership, John Boy Media, iHeart Podcast. We have teamed up that Wake and Jake with me and Beebs and Jimmy's Three Things have joined the iHeart Podcast and Dan Patrick Show family. You can still enjoy them how you love them, but they're sharing our stuff everywhere. We've seen a lot of growth with them, so we can't thank them enough. And you guys know Dan Patrick, so go check out all their stuff over there with the Dan Patrick Show family and iHeart Podcast. Katie Sharp, the queen. I love her openers. She's a killer. That she's like, yeah, Anthony Volpe had a couple good games, and that's being a Yankee fan because we need more out of Volpe. I loved the 784 OPS ahead in the count, 33% worse than league average. That's wild. And this is something Jimmy's been on for a long time, whether it was telling Boone about their 3-1 count stats. That is one of the basic things that's been tried and true throughout baseball is controlling the count, getting ahead. That it has felt weird that the Yankees getting ahead in counts, that's when you should be doing your most damage, and it hasn't always felt like that. And you've seen it particularly with Volpe. I referenced it a couple episodes. He got there's the fastball up and middle that he took and pretended to walk on. That got me and Jimmy frustrated. He also got one in the zone recently that he just put his A swing and he wasn't on it. That it's tough because what coaching does go into that. And then on the other side, what Katie Sharp mentioned, the third time through the order seeing a starting pitcher, that's just straight up bizarre. You can talk about adjustments, I suppose, but just seeing the same pitcher, that is the benefit. That's the whole thing. That's why baseball, super hyper revolutionized a couple years that, the Rays pulled Snell in that World Series game, that pitchers were starting pitchers were going shorter than ever because they saw how crazy those third time through the order stats were, that I don't even think you'd have to make an adjustment. It's just being more familiar, but I guess in a way that comes with making an adjustment.
In theory, it's part making an adjustment, part just having seen pitches from him and knowing, like, his slider moves like this.
60,
it's a bizarre one.
64 players with 60-plus plate appearances versus starter a third time through the lineup, and Volpe is last, 64th. And yeah, if I'm doing Jakey trying to link up non-baseball stats to this, something about the leadoff spot has felt off this whole time. And I will tell you this, after our interview with Boone and we were bopping around a little bit, we were, Volpe leading off, is Volpe not leading off? And Boone made a joke. He's like, and, he was kind of like, every time Volpe's leading off or not leading off, it's like the number one story and the beat writers go nuts. I think there's some merit to it. Like, Anthony Volpe's best performances have come from the bottom of the lineup that I think even at the top of the lineup, I don't think we've seen him ever have sustained success, which I clicked back to last year because I was, again, trying to remember the season of Volpe, and I remember September, the bottom falling out. Nobody really remembers the August. His August stats from last year are really good. He had an OPS in the high 8s. That it's tough because that was a really bad time. Like, the Yankees gave up on their season. They DFA'd Bader. Like I remember either right before, like during the first week of September, he like got the OPS to 700. Yeah,
and we were saying like, oh, like survive these last 3 weeks, and you had a 700 something OPS your rookie year.
He did not,
and then hit the wall. And
yeah, I guess that's the other. And yeah, that month of August, he primarily hit 8th or 6th. So I don't know. We have, for what sample size we have, Anthony Volpe's really struggled in the leadoff spot, which maybe it's timing, maybe it's luck, maybe it's not. That I don't. We're all good keeping him down for a little bit, especially if he goes on another hot streak.
It will. This is related to the third time through the order stat, not leadoff spot stat. His numbers, first time facing a starting pitcher, are actually very good. This season, he's batting in 101 plate appearances. So that's just the number of games he's played. First time facing a starting pitcher. So reliever stats out of it. Those numbers are actually kind of fine. But starting pitcher, first time facing him, 347 batting average and an 885 OPS. So that's separate from the leadoff and end of the order conversation. Just his splits, as far as just number of times seeing a starter, are the opposite of what like baseball history says they should be.
Yeah. And
I don't know what to do with it.
Okay, Katie Sharp, I see you. The other thing that two final points I'll bring home with you. Volpe's seasons last year to this year, looking at them on paper, are pretty fascinating at this point. Volpe finished last year with a 209 batting average, which we were like, yo, can't do that. He's at 251, which when you say a player had a 40-point batting average jump, that's kind of a yo moment. As Katie mentioned, the slugging balanced out because Volpe did finish last year with 21 homers. He's currently at 7, and he just had his first one in a while. So you wonder, you'd love to see a little heater kick in because it is going to be funny looking year over year and seeing 21 homers compared to 11, 12, / what that does to a player's psyche. You'd love if his extra bases landed in a similar spot because he is one double and triple shy of his doubles and triples from last season. And that's with 101 games compared to 159. So that's good. And that is what we asked of Anthony Volpe. So yeah, if we could,
we wanted you to prioritize power less. Like if this season finishes strong with the same approach and we're landing in the 280 area, it's like 250-ish right now, give or take, right? And
Yeah.
So there's an interesting math equation. What was more worth it?
I guess I'll half glass full it at the end a little bit. That seeing a pitcher the third time should be a good thing. Being ahead in count should be a good thing. So those should jump with Volpe, whether bad luck or over time or whatever.
Over time, at minimum, there should be like just a natural regression to the mean there, because like baseball, that doesn't happen really.
And I'll close it with the verse lefty thing as well. The whole Yankees as a team are still very bad versus lefties. They have a losing record versus lefties. That as you brew up your trade deadline pieces, something significant there, because it's currently a glaring thing for them. And I know Luis Rengifo, who's been popular, he's a lefty mauler. But it'll be interesting to see the Yankees. They have to have their eye on that. And we have our eye on seeing you tomorrow night, late night, after 2 versus the Metropolitans. Thank you, guys. You're the best. Let's go Yanks. Tell them Jimmy's grandma.
Go Yankees.